A young girl named Maria arrives in the grand capital of Rubini to reunite with her childhood friend Ada after 2 years apart. But the moment she steps into noble society, she is immediately reminded that acting like a refined lady is now part of her life. Unfortunately, Maria is terrible at it. While Duke Ametis finds her energetic behavior refreshing, Aida seems far quieter than Maria remembers, especially after revealing that she is engaged to the Crown Prince Renato, not because she chose him, but because her father decided it for her. Although Aida accepts the engagement, it is obvious that she is far from happy about it. Maria, meanwhile, has a much simpler goal. Ever since her younger brother Teo was born, her role as heir to the family disappeared overnight, and her father reassigned her future from successor of the house to please go find a husband. Surprisingly, Maria holds no resentment toward her brother at all, and fully supports him. Besides, she is confident she can survive noble society just fine, especially considering she still carries brass knuckles around like they are a perfectly normal accessory for a noble lady. At the academy, Maria quickly realizes that Aida's life is not nearly as glamorous as it appears. While many students admire her as the future crown princess, others quietly resent her, hiding jealousy behind polite smiles. During all of this, Maria accidentally introduces herself to a boy using her childhood nickname Mimi, only to discover that he is Placido, Renato's younger brother. Fortunately, Placido finds the situation hilarious, especially after remembering how Maria used to throw spiky chestnuts at him when they were children. Placido later attempts to introduce Maria to Renato himself, but the crown prince is far too serious and absorbed in his responsibilities to pay much attention to anyone around him. At the same time, Maria encounters Eleonora, a beautiful, noble girl who appears elegant on the surface but gives off an unsettling impression almost immediately. Even after accidentally sending another girl flying in the middle of academy life, Maria continues acting as though everything around her is perfectly normal. As time passes, Maria begins noticing something strange. Aida seems noticeably more comfortable around Placido than around her own fiancé Renato, and the distance between the engaged couple becomes harder to ignore. Still, Maria chooses not to pry too deeply and instead focuses on what she considers the real priority, finding herself a husband. At a noble party, Maria ends up dancing with Placido and initially panics because dancing is clearly not one of her talents. However, she quickly turns the situation into fun through sheer confidence alone, and afterward immediately shifts her attention toward the food table as if that was the true purpose of the event from the beginning. During the party, Placido quietly explains that Aida has spent years crushed under the expectations of noble society, forcing Maria to realize that she never truly understood how much pressure her friend has been carrying all this time. From that moment on, Maria silently promises herself that she will protect Aida no matter what happens. Before the Academy's graduation celebration, Aida attempts to train Maria into behaving more like a proper noblewoman, but the lessons go poorly almost immediately, especially when Maria tries to compliment Aida by comparing her hair to gold and somehow makes the entire conversation awkward instead. On the way to the graduation party, Maria's suspicions continue growing after another uncomfortable encounter with Eleonora, whose broken carriage incident feels strangely unnatural. Soon afterward, they arrive at the grand celebration attended by nearly every important noble in the kingdom, and not long after, the two princes finally make their entrance. Renato draws admiration through his cold and dignified presence, while Placido easily charms everyone with his warmth and friendliness. But Maria immediately notices something wrong. Eleonora is walking beside Renato, not Aida. The sight instantly sends whispers through the crowd, and the other noble girls quickly begin surrounding Aida with thinly disguised curiosity. When Eleonora continues clinging to Renato in public, the situation begins looking less like coincidence and more like humiliation. Maria finally loses patience, grabs Aida by the arm, and declares that they are leaving because she refuses to tolerate everyone's behavior any longer. Aida, however, calmly explains that being connected to the crown prince means constantly living under the scrutiny of others, never knowing who is genuinely concerned and who simply wants gossip. For a moment, Maria manages to cheer her up again. Then Renato approaches. Claiming that this makes things easier, he suddenly grabs Maria's hand, mistakenly believing she is Aida, and publicly announces that their engagement is over. Placido immediately demands an explanation, but Renato continues without hesitation, accusing Aida of secretly harassing and stalking Eleonora out of jealousy. Although Eleonora herself desperately tries to point out that Maria is not Aida, Renato presses forward as though reciting a carefully prepared accusation, insisting he has evidence and demanding that Aida apologize and be suspended from the academy. Maria freezes for only a moment. Then she looks back at Aida and sees the devastation on her face. And the moment she sees her friend hurting, everything becomes simple. Remembering the promise she made to protect her, Maria immediately grabs Renato by the wrist, firmly introduces herself as Maria Anovazzi, and points out that his actual fiancé is standing directly behind her. Then, without the slightest hesitation, she bluntly informs the future crown prince that the first thing he needs is a pair of glasses.